Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 18th, 2011, and we have a special guest in the audience. His name is Dan Odom, along with his father, Ken. Dan is a Boy Scout from Bryan Junior High, troop number 117, and if they would please step up here to help us lead the pledge, that'd be terrific. And at this time, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to recognize another guest that we have in the audience. He's Alderman Susan Rose's nephew. His name is Noah, and he's age 4. He's up in the front row there. If everybody can give a wave to Noah. Hi, Noah. We're glad to have you here today, and your aunt does a great job up here. She makes a lot of great decisions and has been a great leader for the city of Elmhurst. So maybe one day you'll follow in her footsteps and lead a village or a city as well, too. So our future leader, Noah Christensen, age 4, from Mount Prospect. And at this time, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please, to make the meeting official.
Butenkopf. Here. Pezza. Here. Shea. Here. Leader.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Tipskin.
Here.
York.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy. Absent. Mulliner. Here. Wagner.
Here.
13 present, 1 absent.
13 present, 1 absent. We have an official quorum. At this time, I'd ask for any receipt of written communications and/or petitions from the public. If there's anybody that has any written communications and/or petitions, if they would please rise at this time, present those to our Clerk Spencer. Anybody? Okay. Clerk Spencer, on item 3, is there anybody signed up for public forum today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one citizen of Elmhurst, Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Claude, if you could please speak clearly, and we'll give you 3 minutes, and we always appreciate listening to you, Claude. Thank you.
My name is Claude Pagash. I live at 566 West Gladys. Several meetings ago, I asked about miscellaneous funds in the fiscal report. I had some phone calls and some discussions with people and didn't really get any answers, so what I did is, under the Freedom of Information Act, I applied for the city's idea of what miscellaneous funds are. It's rather interesting. I'd like to inform the alderman that under miscellaneous funds, we have miscellaneous funds. It's rather interesting. We have vast computers and everything else, but let alone. Under miscellaneous funds, we wind up with about $200,000 of miscellaneous funds. And I did specifically ask to break it down. They broke it down partway, but then all of a sudden they come up with money. It's miscellaneous funds. I would recommend to the alderman to get a hold of this fiscal report for 2010 and really analyze it. You're running around with a lot of money that's miscellaneous. That's unfortunate for the people of Elmhurst, because what happens is we get a property tax increase. You're going to be voting on another budget. I hope you understand what the fiscal report was in 2010. I don't really care what the city management brings up. Unless you understand that and tell me how you come up with miscellaneous funds and the miscellaneous funds, I'm really at a loss. So I really recommend you try to get a hold of these documents or get a hold of somebody that can explain how miscellaneous funds get into miscellaneous funds. Also, this evening, there have been a couple letters in the local papers in regards to the mayor. Unfortunately, there's been no response from any alderman, nor the city, nor the legal department of the city. That's unfortunate. For I feel being mute condones that letter. I hate to believe that this body and this management of the city and the legal department condone it. Either that letter is valid or it's not. But I have heard nothing from anyone to say it isn't. So it's time for people to step up. It's often said by the mayor, you got to step up. Well, you aldermen were elected by the people. City management has some bearing in that letter, and definitely the legal department of this city.
Claude, you're about 20 seconds past. If you could wrap it up, please, that'd be great.
I hope to hear from all of you, one way or another.
Thank you, Claude.
That concludes our sign-in for public forum.
All right, I will officially close the public forum section of our meeting and go on to our consent agenda. At this time, is there anyone that has a question on a particular item or possibly might want to vote no on a particular item? Please indicate that now, and we'll pull the item from the consent agenda. Anybody? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda in its entirety. Alderman Healy with a motion, Alderman Shea with the second. Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll, please.
Healy.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy. Absent. Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Oh, Gutenkopf.
Aye.
And pass that.
Aye.
That was 11. Oh, sorry. Once again, 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. The consent agenda passes in its entirety. On to item 5, reports or recommendations of appointed elected officials, updates from myself. At this time, I really don't have a whole lot, other than the fact that we are moving along, and City Manager Borcher will be covering this as well, but with the contract with Christopher Burke. And I will let City Manager Borcher handle that in about a second. The other thing I would like to mention is that North Lake and Elmhurst are working on an issue I know that affects the third ward and actually quite a bit of our community along North Avenue with 294 and a westbound alternative. And we have actually been working with our two COGs, West Central Municipal Conference, which represents the COG to our east, DuPage Mayors and Managers, which represents our COG, and I think have a pretty good plan as to how to fix this, and where we can actually get a westbound alternative going into, an eastbound alternative going directly into North Lake. So that is on our radar, and we have been meeting with both community, with North Lake and Elmhurst. Things are moving along. We will be needing to seek funding on this as well. More than likely, this will be a combination of county, state, and tollway funding. But this definitely looks like it is solvable, and we're working hard and diligently. And I know Alderman Rose it's been a big concern, as well as Alderman Brown, to get that turnaround cut through traffic off the Elmhurst streets and going in the right direction. So as of now, that's what's on my plate. City Manager Borchert, status of progress on the Stormwater Comprehensive Plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you suggested, introduced, the item is a pending item before the Public Works and Buildings Committee. They met last Monday with the selected firm, the Burke RJN team. They are, as a committee now, working out the details of the contract as proposed initially by the Burke RJN team. My understanding that'll be on the Public Works Committee agenda again Monday night. And when they're finished at that committee level review, they'll offer that contract with a recommendation onto the City Council. And it's my understanding that once that scope is firmed up and identified, that the task force, the stakeholder group, the task force group that has been involved in attending the education meetings to prepare themselves for the assistance to work with the staff, and the consultant staff will be asked to sign up for areas of preference relative to review to assist the Burke RJN team and the city staff and the city council, frankly, in the comprehensive planning assignments going forward. The Burke RJN group has identified early activities and then a completed activity that is essentially anticipating that the bulk of the design work would be, investigative work would be done in 9 months. Certainly some of the infrastructure investment and construction would take beyond that, as projects would need to be reviewed and approved going forward. But the Burke RJN group understands the Elmhurst expectation of hitting the priorities early and quickly on an expedited basis to allow council decisions, community discussion to go forward quickly, and actions to show up in next year's, frankly, a significant amount to show up in next year's construction budget. So much more to be announced in that regard, but following the Public Works Committee meeting on Monday, potentially a council review of a report at the first meeting, or hopefully at the latest, the second council meeting in February, with the Burke RJN team then hitting the assignment with the help of the stakeholder group, the task force group, in March. Any questions from the group?
Questions? Discussion? Okay.
And relative to the other item, that's really not the Burke RJN assignment, but the Commonwealth Edison issue, we have received a commitment from the ComEd group that they would be providing a monthly report back to the city as to the status of what they indicated they would be completing relative to reinforcing the grids. There's four service grids that ComEd identified needed attention, needed work. 3 of those areas were in southwest Elmhurst, 1 central and east Elmhurst. Commonwealth Edison will be providing us a monthly report as to where they're at on implementing their infrastructure upgrades.
Very good. Alderman Wagner.
Question for the city manager.
Sure.
When do you expect the first report?
I think the end of January, at the end of each month.
End of each month? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Any other questions, discussion? Okay. Thank you, City Manager Borchert. I will go on to item number 6, other business. Anybody for other business this time? Other business? Announcements. Anybody for announcements? Oh, we got a lot of hands here. Clerk Spencer, we got the queen first.
Okay. This is really a save-the-date announcement. The Elmhurst Heritage Foundation will host a tribute to Tom Borchert on May 13th, 2011 at the Diplomat West Banquet Hall in Elmhurst, and more information to the public will be forthcoming.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. It's a big day, not only for our city, but also for a great man that has served our community for many, many years. There'll be a recognition dinner in Mr. Borchert's behalf, with all proceeds going to the Heritage Center. So please come out and support a great organization and an individual that has dedicated much of his life to serve our community. Anybody else? Alderman Gutenkopf and then Alderman York.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I have 2 announcements. The first is something that I think we let slip, and I wish we had said something a little earlier, but we can do it now. And I'd like to congratulate the Elmhurst Historical Museum staff for running a successful public museum grant. It's a program that is administered by the Illinois State Museum, and they successfully received $50,000 for capital improvements to the museum, and the museum staff, especially Lance Tauser and Brian Berghager, worked very hard to write and receive that very successful grant. So that will enable them to make some much needed capital improvements to their buildings. And my second announcement is that I'm holding a First Ward coffee and conversation meeting on January 29th at 9:30 at that coffee shop, which is at 124 West Park. Coffee and conversation meetings are an opportunity for First Ward residents to get to know businesses in the First Ward and meet their aldermen and talk about issues that affect us. So please join me at 9:30 at that coffee shop on the 29th. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman York.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is just more something that I observed over the weekend, and I think everybody needs to be aware of. Elmhurst resident Mark Wilson, who plays on the PGA Tour, won the 2011 Sony Open Championship this weekend in Maui. Tough place to be and pick up 900 grand while you're at it. But he finished the tournament at 16 under, range short, and they played 36 holes on Sunday. It's his third win on the tour. A couple of years ago, he was in contention with Tiger out at the Western Open through 2 rounds. But his wife, Amy, and he has 2 young sons that live here in town. This event qualifies him for the Masters. So on the hallowed grounds of Augusta National, we'll hear on the tee from Elmhurst, Illinois, Mark Wilson. I don't know him personally, but I know several people who do and say he's a really nice guy. And you can find out more information about him at markwilsongolf.com. Congratulations.
Great news. Very good, Alderman. Lord, we could all use the lessons, right? All right. Anybody else for announcements? Alderman Levin.
On January 28th, the Chamber of Commerce will be holding its annual meeting, and former Mayor Marcucci will be one of the honored guests for his service to the community, and in particular to ECAF and some of the organizations he supported. So that would be available, information would be available on the Chamber website for that.
Very good. Excellent. Anybody else? All right. Hearing none. Motion to adjourn. Alderman York. Alderman Morley. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? We're adjourned.